good, but you gotta talk for a second so I can check once again if it works now, maybe. Well, I have absolutely no idea. Can you check if you've got your settings on like allow to share your voice? Let's see if it's that. Because usually it should be on.
Okay. My apologies, and hopefully you can now hear me.
Was it
'Cause
was
for
it
some,
was it that?
it could very well be. I don't understand why it's done that though, because I've done streams myself through party chat, so I don't. Yeah, I don't understand
Yeah.
why that
All
decided to
right.
reset, but hopefully it now
Yeah,
works.
it works. It works. All right. Sorry for the inconvenience for everyone watching, but now we are live, and now you can hear Jake as well, which is a good thing, because it would have been very weird just me talking to myself throughout the entirety of this race. But yeah, sorry, we missed the first couple of minutes in qualifying now because of that. That should have not been the case, but maybe PlayStation just sometimes with like system updates or whatever change some settings that you've got. I don't know. Might be. Might not be. Who knows? But now we're live and we're here for qualifying. So that's the main thing. And we have the first couple of laps on the track already. And yeah, as expected, everyone's on softs. You know, it's quite exciting for me because for me this is the first commentary of the season, obviously, the first commentary on the new game. Um, and it's all a bit new to me because something's changed here and there. So yeah, I
Yeah, no,
mean, I was used to everyone qualifying on mediums or whatever for the race, and now it's not the case anymore. Now everyone's just gone flat out on softs, which I absolutely love. And yeah, now we can focus on qualifying.
yeah. I think the it was I think it's a good rule change in real life, and I think it's really helped out league racing in the fact that you can now just choose what tire you start the race on. You know, it means we don't get this thing in qualifying where you don't really see the pace of half of the guys because they're not wanting to start on soft tires. Although having said that, what I've already noticed in qualifying is that three people are out of qualifying, and I'm pretty sure, at least for two of them, that was done in the pit lane. So I don't really know as to why they've done that. To be honest with you, because you usually should be able to. You usually want to be as far up the grid as possible. It's not like you're going to gain the advantage of new tires at the start or anything like that.
Yeah, well, maybe they just prefer to be further towards the back rather than in the midfield because I know turns 1, 2, and 3 here in Mexico could get quite chaotic. We saw that in the different leagues yesterday. Also in F11 where I race, there was a lot of chaos in the first 3 turns. Obviously, it's a very tight corner section, and you know, cold tires. Not everyone really used to it without the formation lap, so they might just want to stay out of trouble, but we'll see how that goes in the race for them then. But for now, they are definitely not going to be far up the grid, and especially in that fully packed grid for tonight that we have with 90 drivers, that's not going to make it any easier for them.
Yeah, the attendance has actually been really superb so far in F4. I think at the least we've had 19, 20 at a couple of races. Interestingly, one of the drivers out of qualifying is Kieran, who is currently our championship leader, has won two of the first three races. He hasn't done this in qualifying before either, so I don't know if this is just specific to his track, like you say, with the first few corners being a bit hazardous for collisions, but something both him and his Alpine teammate have done. But yeah, he's leading the championship ahead of Girofu, who's currently up in third on the grid. He was second up until a second ago, but Joey's just pipped him. Lap times already looking pretty close, and based on the early lap times, I suggest pole you're looking around the mid 1 minute 15 mark. There's probably a few attempts to drop off that time as we go through the session.
Yeah, that's really good to see. The driver's been so close, obviously, around a track that is not that long in terms of lap time. that is expected, but still, I mean, just 3.5 tenths in between all the guys inside the top 10. That is very good to see, and hopefully we'll see some good racing in the race then, rather than just DRS trains, because those two long straights at the start of the lap are not going to make it easy to overtake inside a DRS train. Obviously, also time penalties could be a big factor here tonight. We've got the S section where it's very easy to invalidate. We've got some corners here and there where you want to extend, use the track width to its full extent when breaking into a corner. And, a slight misjudgment might lead you to go too wide to the outside. As Simon said, the new fastest lap with a 1:15.5, just 2 tenths ahead of Amboy. Is that how you say it?
Yep, that's what I've been going with.
All right. And we can see, Amboy just went out really wide at the end of that S section, as he is willing to regain his provisional pole position time. But, he just, I'd like to say, cheated his way around that invalidation. And Nick, what do you say, Lucan or Nick?
I've been just calling him Luke and Nick.
Okay, Luke and Nick. Luke and Nick just went on to provisional pole now with a lap time that is 1,000 of a second quicker than Simon's. Amboy, by the way, pitted. Are you aware that you can track extend the final corner of the S section if you go out a bit too wide? You just have to stay off the track for a bit longer, and then you don't get an invalidation or a warning. Just so you know.
Well, certainly some of the drivers are aware, but no, that's what you do as a driver. You look to exploit everything you can. It's the best way of gaining time. My apologies, actually. I usually do a bit more prep, but I was in a bit of a rush tonight, which is why I wasn't aware that Fleddy and Kieran, the two Alpines, actually do have a qualifying ban. Obviously, Kieran won the last race, so I didn't really think that he'd had a penalty, but apparently the reason for this, and this is why there's the two Alpines, they were using slipstream during qualifying at the last race, which you're not permitted to do so at PSGL.
Well, yeah, that's... I get it around Spa. It's a big advantage, and maybe it helped him winning the race in the end. Obviously, I wasn't there, Sally, and cannot really judge the way it has helped him in the actual race. But for Mexico, that would also make sense. But obviously, it's banned in PSGL. Also banned is the track extending at the end of the S section, as far as I'm aware. So if you get caught doing it too many times, then you might get penalized. So we might see some controversy at the end, some clips being put into the stewards chat, and then maybe the stewards having a lot of work to do as KK goes on to the second row of the grid, just 1/10 behind provisional pole. Let's see if MFD Block can set his first proper lap time in his Aston Martin. I reckon he has invalidated his first couple of laps. But as we go on board here, I gotta say, first of all, I can turn the tires down. That spectator menu on the top right is so incredibly huge, and it's kind of annoying.
It's definitely bigger than it was in the last game. That was something I noticed quite early on. It's not the best thing for spectating, if I'm honest, but we deal with what we're given. Just on Keke, actually, he's been pretty impressive this season. So he's a driver I expect to see fighting up there. He's so far got 2 4th places and a 5th place to his name, so very consistent, if not going to the absolute. Not having a podium yet, as Joey invalidates his latest attempt by going slightly wide at the exit of the SS section, and based on this game, the mistake he made was not going wide enough.
Yeah, well, obviously you shouldn't be using it all too much, but I can understand in the heat of the moment when you're on your qualifying lap and you realize you just went out there a little bit too far, you might just, as a reflex, just track extend a bit more in order to not invalidate, because it works. So I wouldn't blame anyone for doing it. I reckon some will do it not on purpose and just out of reflex, because obviously you always want to avoid and validating. But I think we'll see that in the race a couple of times more, especially if you've got a loose setup and you might even just lose the rear end at the end of the S section, and you might go wide because of that. That could be a thing as well. And now Marcel is about to finish his lap a couple of minutes before the end of this session. Currently in 10th. Let's see where he can go onto provisional pole, actually. Good lap from him there in the Aston Martin. 1:15.4. So we're getting closer and closer to the 14s. Don't know if we'll break into the 14s, but currently drivers are improving more and more. Track gets faster and obviously more grippier. And at the moment, that Aston Martin will start from pole position.
Indeed, I'm just watching Charlie Moon at the moment. He's looking like he's on a quick lap as well. A couple of attempts up. He's currently on the brink of a top 10. His qualifying pace has been pretty solid. His race pace hasn't quite come together for him yet. It would be fair to say he hasn't scored a point as of yet this season, which I think his pace is a lot better than that. He's run a bit wide there, though, and he's going to bail out of it because if he had have finished that lap, he'd have struggled to make it round for another attempt. So, pretty sensible, given the mistake that he made at the final corner.
LRB moves his way up into 6th with that lap time, and just look how close that is. That is great to see. Not even 2 tenths in between the first 6 places in qualifying at the moment, and we're now getting towards the closing stage of that qualifying session here. It looks like Jaume won't make an improvement. Milan has just come round. Nah, he's invalidated actually. So that lap won't matter to us. And I think the top guys are out on lap times as well. Yeah, Girafo is on a flying lap in his Mercedes. No, he's not. He's actually running on low battery. I think he only just finished a lap. Is that possible? We might have missed it. Or I have missed it.
Yeah, I think he moved up to P2 about a minute ago, but he's half a second down, so he's still pushing. Maybe he's just trying to make sure he gets back into the pits on time. But yeah, he moved up to second. Roby, I think, as well moved up to third. It's all getting really congested in that upper half of a grid. And of course, we can't forget Kieran starting at the back as well, a 2-time race winner. So I think it's going to be very close in the race. But at the moment, Marcel's lap time is the difference. And yeah, a little bit of a surprise, I have to say. Currently sitting on pole position. He did get a podium last time out at what I believe was a wet Spa. So maybe just coming into a bit of form. Of course, the first few races on a new game, it's easy to sometimes forget that some drivers may have had a lot more time to prepare than others. So it may take us a few drivers that struggle at the start of the season. It might take them a few weeks just to get up to speed if they haven't had much time to practice.
Yeah, obviously the pace of one driver could be really different in between qualifying and a race as well. I think generally our championship leader being in last place, we could have maybe something like damage limitation here tonight from Kieran then, when he wants to obviously fight his way up the field throughout those 36 laps around this track. I gotta say, I'm a big fan of this track. Not only the races on this game, watching the races on this game, driving it on my own as well. I just really like the track, and also the real life races have usually been quite solid. And you don't lack overtaking opportunities, but like I said, it might come down to DRS trains being a factor, and then maybe just managing your battery, as Amboy just went a bit wide coming into the stadium section, but that cost him more time and he's missed another apex. So I think he might just go for another lap here. Oh, he'll just pit. Yes, he pits. So that is his qualifying session over then. And by the way, if you're watching the stream, you can let us know if something with the audio, something is wrong, or if it's fine, if it's alright. Just want to make sure, because obviously I can't really hear the stream myself. I don't want to blast it through the microphone. So you can hear the stream twice. But yeah, just let us know when anything is wrong. And I'll try to fix that as soon as possible. Joey comes around the final corner now. Was he on a lap? No, he is starting one. And Pape just invalidated at the end of the S section.
Yeah, he was looking pretty good up to that point. Simon on a lap, he's invalidated as well. Of course, the last attempts now, drivers pushing the limits, and a few of them just going a little bit above the limits in some circumstances. Harmon's on a lap, but he's currently, well, that's way wide through there. The game was more than happy for him to do that, though, which is a little bit interesting. But I don't think he's improving enough to really go too far from his 16th place. So I'll see across the line, has he gained any positions? He was up to 15th, but he would have been hoping for better than that. Diogo Silva was set to
Yeah,
improve, but invalidated as well.
only
So
just
we've
saw
seen
it.
quite a few invalidations on those final attempts.
Charlie as well. Charlie is invalidated. Let's see if Joey can improve. He's slightly up on his time. That might gain him a couple of positions, though. At the moment, he would actually gain 2 positions by just that minor improvement as he comes around the final part of this track through that baseball stadium. I would drop some knowledge now if I had some about that stadium and that team, but I don't. And there we go, Joey into third place. That was a massive improvement in the last sector there. Where goes the Aston Martin? He doesn't go up any positions.
But Girofu could be about to steal pole, and he does, a 15-2. Right to the death. That's a great lap from Girofu, and took more time than I thought he would. And I don't know if anyone's going to be able to respond to that.
Simon is still on his lap. LRB puts himself onto the second row of the grid, but his teammate could spoil the party here. No, he couldn't. Who was on the lap? Who did I just see? Who was on the lap?
We've got Milan. I think he might be the last one.
He's only
Currently
just
down
slightly
in
up.
13th and stays 13th. He improved by 3 tenths, so to not move up any position is a little bit surprising.
Yeah, sorry, I thought someone was improving, but it seems like I just, went blind for a second there. But there you have your grid for Mexico then. Giraffe takes pole and maximizes his advantage in that qualifying session over Kieran as he starts the furthest position that is he starts on the position that is the furthest away from our championship leader in first place, and Marcel takes a very, very good second place and lines up alongside. And it's going to be interesting to see which tires the drivers are going to start on, because usually I think it will be a medium hard strategy. You could make it the other way around, of course, but safety cars could be a big factor here, especially around the S sections. You can see a lot of crashes in different divisions. And maybe someone risks it and goes for the soft tire. Maybe someone at the back.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the drivers do in terms of strategy. I think the race I watched a couple of weeks ago, I believe at Miami, it was, I believe 17 of the 19 drivers or something similar to that all started on the hard tire. So hard tire seems to be a very popular one to start a race on, but if you start on the mediums, then you've got an opportunity to gain a lot of positions off the start, because you really won't have much traction on those hards to begin with.
Especially when they're cold, without the formation lap, which we need to be prepared for, or I should rather say I need to be prepared for, because I'm not used to that. Those hards are terrifying on the opening lap in terms of grip, and I think we might see some chaos coming down into the first 3 turns. But we're about to find out with the drivers being on their grid slots right now. And it's going to cut straight away to the race start, I think, as soon as everyone is loaded in. And then the lights will come on. And then we are prepared for 36 laps of racing around this beautiful circuit here in Mexico. It could be interesting to see how different drivers approached this race in terms of setup, because obviously you can gain a lot of time in the middle sector in terms of lap time in qualifying, but that missing straight line speed through the wings might hinder you in the race in terms of overtaking straight line speed. So I think Kieran could go for a very low downforce setup. That obviously won't make him quick in the second sector, but that's not where you want to overtake other drivers. You want to overtake the drivers into turn 1 or into turn 4 usually, and that's where you need that straight line speed. So I reckon he might go for a low downforce setup.
I think it's a wise move for him. He absolutely cannot afford to just be stuck in a train going nowhere. He's going to have to make overtakes, and to do that, he's going to need good straight line speed. So, we know he's a quick driver. Maybe he can just wrestle the car around the first bits of the lap.
And we are off here in Mexico. Giraffe seems to be getting away pretty well. Marcel as well. The Mercedes of Joey has to defend himself from LRB already. And it looks like Giraffe was made a great start already. He's got quite a gap to Marcel behind him. Then we've got LRB who's trying to attack the Aston Martin on the inside maybe. Coming down into turn one, we've got some contact. Joey just went off the track there. But it seems like it's more or less clean. It's just the Mercedes that is off at the moment. Then we've got Robbie who's made up some solid positions as well. He's up to third now. LRB has just lost another place once again, so he's back and forth where he started. Now he attacks Robbie once again into turn 4 around the outside. That turns into the inside right before the hairpin, the awkward hairpin with a double apex, and he's still got the inside line. They're still alongside, but now he's got the pace. And LRB on the mediums, now ahead of Robbie, Lukanik, and he's side by side with KK, but KK has to back out. And it looks like we've got some drivers out on mediums.
Yeah, and those drivers looking to be more aggressive. They don't want to be losing time behind the hard time runners. But for Giraffe and Marcel, it was a pretty perfect start. I think for Joey, I don't know if he just slightly locked up and there was a bit of contact further down. But obviously he's lost a lot of time due to that. And I think he'll have a bit of wing damage as well. I saw fly off his Mercedes. So not the ideal start for him. But Roby impressive as well. And you can see already from the back that Kieran has gained 4 places on the hard tyre. So he's had a pretty good start too.
Yeah, we might see a change of position up front there between the Red Bull and the Ferrari, almost like in real life. It looks like Lukanik actually might have some form wing damage. Yes, his front left. No, it's not. It just looked like that. Sorry, my fault, but he just moved up into P4 then, overtook Robbie, who is on the hard compound at the moment, who will be struggling for the first couple of laps. But that point where the mediums are going to be slower than the hards is not coming that late. And it's a lot of movement right before turn 4. And it looks like Macho was thinking about it. And something happened to Giraffe. And he's ghosted. And he's losing positions left, right, and center. Is he out of the session?
Looks like that might be the case. That's not at all what he would want. He was in such a strong position and in the race lead, and now he's dropping down. He wants to try and get back in control of his car as quickly as possible, but real big damage and a crucial moment in the championship already, and it won't be too long before Kieran sees his championship rival and he struggles.
It's not going to make this race any easier for him. We can see Kieran just lost a place against Pape, even though I thought he might attack up ahead, but no, he's just lost 1 position or 2 positions. I'm not quite sure. The 2 Hasses seem to be holding up everyone here, and Kieran is on the hard, as so are all the drivers around him. So that won't make it any easier for him to overtake. He's got his teammate right behind him, but he's going to be too far away. Let's see if Milan will now overtake the ghosted car of Giraffe, who's now back in the lobby. Pape just got past his teammate into turn 1, down the inside. Easy move for the Haas driver, and up into P14 he goes. So 2 positions gained in 1 lap, and that was the poor exit from Diogo Silva, and it looks like Kieran might be able to use that to his advantage, and he's got the inside line for turn 4, and he's going for it, and yes, he gets the position. Easy move down the inside, beautifully done, and the Alpine is up back into 15th. Giraffe is still not in his car though.
No, and it'll be interesting to see if LRB and Luke and Nick can do something about Marcel.
Oh, and I just captured KK! And he is spun out of the final section of the S's, and he just lost grip on the outside, I think, but actually it looked like he just hit the inside curb of that final corner in the S section a bit too harsh, and then it just sent his car around spinning, and there was no way he was keeping that car out of the wall. And I captured it in the exact right moment because he was very close to the cars up ahead, and I thought there might be an overtake coming up, but no, he is down in second to last place now, and he has to pit for a new front wing. That race has just gone completely downhill for him.
Yeah, I was talking about Keke's consistency earlier so far this season, but that's all come undone with that one tiny mistake. And in a race with full of such talented, consistent drivers as we've got here in F4, that one mistake really puts you at a disadvantage, and he's going to need a safety car to really get himself back in contention for any sort of points today.
It's not going to make it easy. But obviously you can see how easy it is to crash your car around that S section, especially if you've got a loose setup, which you probably need to be quick in that part. So we might see a safety car. It's not that unrealistic, and we've got a car that is spun. It looks like it might be the Williams of Harmon. Yes, it was. He's down in 17th now, and we've got the first time penalty, and that's from Kieran. That's not going to make his way up the field any easier at the moment. But I gotta say, Marcel's did a pretty good job to still maintain that lead without the help of any DRS. He once again has a 8/10 gap behind him, and that's going to be too far for LRB to attack. But he should rather watch out for Lukanik, who now pulls to the inside on that main straight and is trying to gain one more spot into P2. He goes inside line, and that seemed like a pretty easy move. And Harmon just retired in the pit lane. And Lukanik now up into P2 with his Ferrari, and maybe he can challenge the Aston Martin of Marcel, who's in the lead at the moment.
Yeah, LRB, I thought he might be able to get at Marcel, but he's just not had the pace to do so. And now it'll be interesting to see if Nick can make more of an impact into that race leader's advantage.
Oh, there goes Kieran. He's had a little look on the inside. He's still alongside the Haas. He gets pushed out wide. He's not given any room whatsoever. He's still got the outside line. That's going to be impossible for him. And the Haas even goes off the track in order to defend from him. And Kieran still somehow gained that spot. I'm not quite sure if that was legal. And ooh, that looks a bit messy now. Drivers going off the track left, right, and centre. But yeah, that didn't look like the cleanest fight so far in this race. And there goes maybe Fleddy now around the outside, coming into the stadium section. Yes, past the Haas driver he goes. And up into P15. But a bit messy for Kieran so far. Already a penalty, and then that fighting. That's not what he wanted at the start of the race, I think.
Yeah, those Hasses have been a real thorn in the side for the Alpines. And you can see already all that fighting has done. Kieran's now 12 seconds off the lead, and we're only on start of lap 6, so already he's up against it in terms of time loss, and that penalty to boot as well. It's really has been those Hasses that have caused a lot of problems, and maybe that penalty was just a bit of frustration coming out of Kieran as Fleddy's now banging wheels with Pierre Pappy. These Hasses and Alpines, there's no love lost between them, that's for sure.
Yeah, it looks like Lukanik has closed up quite a lot, but here goes Fleddy then down the inside into turn 4. Maybe he has a little look on the inside, and there's been contact, and Pappy is round, and so is Fleddy. Ah, that was almost, you could see it coming in the previous laps. Alpine and Haas just doesn't go very well together today on this circuit, and now they've finally completely collided. And you could see it coming from a couple of laps ago already. That was almost inevitable. So, yeah, Fleddy now back down in P16, and I'm pretty sure Kieran will be very happy to be out of that fight for now, because he's got a 2.5 second gap now to the two Hasses behind him. And also, I feel like Lukanik has closed the gap a little bit to Marcel up ahead, at least on the previous lap. And he's got a little gap to LRB behind him as well. So we might be able to see some kind of attempt to take the lead from the Ferrari driver.
Yeah, an unusual situation here where the two sort of title protagonists in the early stages of the season struggling down in 11th and 13th, and it's a chance for a few other drivers who have maybe gone under the radar this season to start fighting for wins. And Marcel and Lukanik, particularly Lukanik, has shown pace at times this season, but it just hasn't come together for a really strong result as of yet. But this could be his opportunity, and I have to say he looks one of a evening. And a bit of a wobble from Marcel, and that could give Nick a although he may do. And I was going to say, he doesn't need to go for it now, but if he can stay this close onto the main straight, this overtake's going to be an absolute done deal.
Yeah, he just needs to be very, very close to that rear end. Obviously, he has the DRS. He's got the slipstream. Nothing for Marcel to defend with on that main straight now. And I'm pretty sure that's almost a done deal for him as he enters the main straight and now opens that rear wing. And yes, that is far open, and he is taking the lead on lap 8. Marcel has to give up that first place for the first time in this race. Amboy, in the meantime, has just passed Milan. Both are on hards, but still a very good situation for Marcel. Not going to lie, he's still out on the hard tyres. He just needs to try and stay with Lukanik, obviously, now. This lap, or especially that second sector that is coming up now, is going to be very crucial for the rest of this first stint for him.
Yeah, and what Marcel has got over
Oh,
Luka
sorry
Nick
to
has got.
interrupt you, but there goes Macho once again. Some weird banging in between him and Milan this time. Milan pushes the AlphaTauri out wide, who can't even rejoin the track because there's just that orange McLaren in the way, and once more contact between drivers as Simon turns Macho around and gains a position because of that. And there goes Kieran then also past the AlphaTauri, and that didn't look too... that didn't look too good for either Macho or Simon, because I felt like Macho tried to rejoin the track, but he couldn't. And then he saw the gap, went back onto the track, and just slightly cut in the way of Simon. So that might save Simon from getting a penalty, but that looked really clumsy all in all. But
And I tell you what, Luke and Nick got a shocking exit out of that final corner, and I don't think he's going to have a lead for too much longer. Marcel's got me inside, and I tell you one thing that Marcel's got over Luke and Nick as well. He's got a lot more battery saved, so Marcel back in the lead and playing this pretty smartly. Luke and Nick would have wanted to take advantage of the better tyres, and maybe in his attempts to do so, just pushed it a bit too much on the lead again.
yeah, you. By the way, you're lagging a little bit. Maybe you've got a download on or something, because sometimes your audio just cuts off, and I just can't hear you. And then after like 1 or 2 seconds, it's back. Or maybe it's just not properly plugged in or something, because it doesn't really sound like that much of a internet related thing.
Yeah, hopefully that sounds a little bit better now.
Yeah, well, it wasn't often, but just sometimes you would just cut off. But
Yeah.
once again, Lukanig still, I think that might now be the case for the rest of that first stint. Between Lukanig and Marcel, because I don't think one lap is enough to get away so much that you can retain the lead on those two long straights. But this time it might actually be enough, and that might be down to the battery save of Marcel as well. Like you said, he's got a lot more, so he's in a really good position at the minute. And there goes Giraffe then past Simon. Yeah, looked like a pretty easy move down the inside into turn 1. And that is P9 for him. Very unlucky that he got kicked out of this session, because he was in the lead. And I think he showed some pretty good pace in qualifying. So I would have loved to see him for more than just those 2 or 3 laps, whatever that was at the start, before he was kicked out of the session.
Yeah, he's not a million miles away from the lead, so he could still play a part later on, but like you say, in effect, he should be probably at the front still, or at least in this front group. Through no fault of his own, he isn't. I was just looking as well. I've mentioned about Marcel having a lot of battery to use. Just keep an eye out on LRB. He's got around 70% battery in that third place. He's just been keeping an eye on the 2 guys in front of him, and he could make his move pretty soon with all that battery to use.
Yeah, I don't know if he likes to save it for the couple of laps after he pitted. Obviously, he will have the undercut, but he'll be on the hards, and he needs to make the best out of those hard tyres for the first couple of laps, as Lukanig gets very close to Marcel once again, but he's just not close enough to get past only just yet. And Marcel's still around 40% of charge left, so that should be enough, and he just uses it when he accelerates out of some corners here and there. Roby, though, is pretty close to LRB, but like you've mentioned, he's got enough energy to defend himself. But I reckon that's going to be the last thing he wants to use his battery for, to defend from a driver behind him, especially a driver who's on the hard compound.
Yeah, and Luke and Nick looks super close through this section to Marcel again, so don't know if there was a small mistake in there, but Luke and Nick looking in a prime position to attack once more as the lead keeps changing hands. But you have to say right now, the top 7 are all sort of in contention here. They're all within a second of each other, and even the ones further back in this train of cars have got an opportunity to do something when the pit stops come around.
Yeah, it looks like the mediums aren't performing as well as they were at the start of this race. And I feel like it's not far from the point where the hard tyre might actually be a little bit better than that medium compound. And just look at the battery charge of LRB. He's preparing something. I'm pretty sure he's got something in mind where he wants to use that battery charge. And I think it's going to be right after the pit stops. Maybe he just wants to, clear Lukanik out of the way right after he pitted to then have clean air, fresh air ahead of him. And then, maximize his couple of laps on fresh hards.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting sort of game of tit for tat here between the leading group of cars and seeing what they do with strategy and even make some overtakes now, like you say, particularly those hard tyre runners taking advantage of the better tyres that they'll now have. And this could as well be Marcel's opportunity to try and pull away. He's got 2 medium tyre runners behind him, and the last thing he wants is to maybe get Roby involved in on this on the same strategy, so he could
I think
take
Milan
advantage
is
of
off.
Milan's had a spin round the sort of middle part of the S section. He's lost his front wing, so he's obviously had a collision with, I'm guessing, a wall. I'm hoping it's not another car. Yeah, he's going to have to come in and get that changed. And maybe if you're on the medium tyre, it wouldn't be a bad time to have to make a pit stop. But on the hards, it kind of ruins his strategy a little bit.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Jaum just listened to you because he is the first medium runner to go into the pit lane. And it's going to be interesting to see what kind of lap times he will set now. And Milan obviously pits now as well for his new front wing. He was on the hards though, so that doesn't make his strategy any easier. He goes onto a set of softs. I think that's the best he can do now. Just go for a stint on soft tyres, a very short stint. And then just go for another set of mediums at the end, because you can't really do much else. Obviously, you don't have a second set of mediums for the race on this game, because it's just a preset, which I think is not the best decision Codemasters have made. Because in real life, obviously, the teams save more mediums than softs. Or not more, but save 2 sets of mediums usually for the race. Except for Ferrari, because it's Ferrari.
Speaking of Ferrari, Luke and Nick is looking, once again, I'd say quite menacing behind Marcel, who hasn't been able to pull away on this lap. Are we going to see any medium tyre runners in?
Yeah.
LRB is into the pits.
It's going to be a long stint on the hard tyre for him as well. Charlie Moon as well in the pit lane behind him in that McLaren.
I just wonder if LRB is going to try and use some of his battery on these on this sort of outlap on these hard tyres now and try and take advantage. But what will be interesting is to see if he's lost a position to Jaum, who came in earlier. No, Jaum is, I think...
No, it should be fine. Where is going to be Jaum in comparison to Charlie? He's going to be ahead of the McLaren driver. I think it might actually help staying out a bit longer if you're in a DRS train. So I think it might be a problem for LRB now that Lukanik, who's just regained the lead, by the way, is in that DRS train, even though obviously he's not got any DRS now, but look at how much he's using his battery charge. He's down to 3%, so he's 100% got to pit at the end of this lap, and then we'll have to wait and see where he comes out. If it would be the real-life Ferrari crew, he would be 5 seconds behind, but luckily it's the game for him. And I think it's going to be very close in between those two as he dives into the pit lane as expected for his hopefully one and only stop.
Yeah, but Marcel might not be safe even now because he's got Roby, who's managed to claw right in behind him on the hard tyre. He's not going to be able to overtake him just yet, but he's looking quite racy in that Red Bull. So we've got a yellow flag because I think Milan having more problems on the soft tyre this time.
Could be close in between LRB. And no, it's actually not close. Look at the gap Lukanik has got over LRB. That must be 2 or 3 seconds now. And Jaum just passed LRB as well. LRB is losing a lot of pace at the moment on those hards.
Yeah, still not using much of his battery. It must be obviously the tyre warm-up issues that you have on this game. Trying to get new tyres up temperature. You can see Luke and Nick ahead of Jaum desperately weaving to get some tyre temperature in there. Because he knows he's going to be very slow in this lap. And you can see, speaking of the tyre temp issues, you can see how much Jaum is closing in on him, courtesy of the fact he's had a few laps on his hards already.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Jaum pitted 1 lap earlier than LRB did, didn't he?
He did, and look, he's already right behind Nick, who just cannot seem to get any grip into those hard tyres. I tell you what, those that pitted onto the hards are really struggling to get any grip to begin with, and if anything, there's a bit of an overcut as opposed to an undercut happening because of that. And yeah, Luke and Nick could get overtaken down the straight this lap because he doesn't have much to respond with right now.
Yeah, but how many cars is the big question. He won't have the help of any DRS. He will definitely get eaten up alive by that Williams of Jaum right behind him, who's just set the fastest lap of the race as well for good measure, and he's going to fly past that Ferrari ahead of him now. But what is going to happen with LRB now? As Lukanik doesn't even use this battery charge, doesn't even try to hold that position, and LRB now is right behind him, and he needs to get past now if he still wants to use that advantage. There's the retired car of Milan, and he is pretty close. He's got his battery charged. He's using his battery. He's in the slipstream. He's going for the outside now, and will that work? He's got warmer tyres than his rival at the moment. He's got the inside line now. He gives him the room. There's some good racing in between those. Once again in the hairpin, he has got the inside line. He doesn't push him out wide, but now it's the inside for Lukanik coming into that S section, and Lukanik has just managed to hold on. Some very good defending, some very good racing, and it seems like Lukanik has still not got his tyres on full temperature. Look at that, LRB is almost pushing him through that S section, and Lukanik has already once again lost the DRS from the car ahead.
Yeah, this has worked out beautifully for Jaum, but fair play, some really good racing there. We've seen already drivers are quite happy to push others off the track, but credit where credit's due to LRB. He gave Nick the space, and Nick defended it superbly, and even though he had no grip around the middle sector, there wasn't really anywhere for LRB to go.
Yeah, that's the issue with that middle sector. It's just so it's filled with tight right left corners, so it's not really any chance for him to get past. But now on lap 17 he finally gets past Lukanik and gets inside line for turn 1, and he will have the DRS coming down towards turn 4 as well, so I think he should be able to hold him behind him. And yeah, look at that. I think Lukanik has still not got his tyres up to full temperature. He's still struggling with grip, and Roby has just got his second time penalty already, I think.
I tell you what, we'll keep an eye on Jaum, because look at what he's coming up to.
Oh yeah, the two Hasses, and there's still one Alpine of Fleddy in there who still not managed to get past those two Hasses, and I'm pretty sure some of those situations, race situations, if you can call it that, as one Haas goes off the track, I think that was Diogo Silva, he still manages to hold on to that position. I don't think it's going to be easy for Jaum now, as Roby pits, so does Marcel. I'm curious to see where they will come out. They're definitely not going to struggle as much on those cold tyres as the hard runners did, because obviously the medium tyres heat up more. Fleddy pits now, so that's one position for free for Jaum. Let's see where the two leaders come out now in comparison to him. They are ahead at the moment, but they still got cold tyres, a lot of weaving going
Roby
on.
Isn't.
Oh my goodness, that's very tight, and Roby is struggling in that pack right there as Block is trying to desperately hold on to that position against Papi, but he just lost it, and now there's a lot of fighting. Look at that. Marcel has got a great gap, and if he can stay ahead of that Haas for one lap more, then he has that position. Jaum is trying to go around the outside of the Haas. Brilliant move from Jaum there, going down into turn 4, around the outside, clean one as well. I hope there wasn't any contact going down into the hairpin. He's now right behind Roby, and if he wants to still have a chance of, you know, overtaking him, he needs to do it now. We've got yellow flags ahead as well. Is that Simon?
Yeah, Simon's had a moment. I don't know if he's got damage. I think he may just have gone for a spin, but that's cost him dearly. But you can just see, look at as Roby goes down the inside of Block, you can just see the couple of seconds difference made, just completely impacted on Marcel and Roby's race. Marcel perfectly positioned as Kieran trying to recover gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. He won't be happy with himself for that one at all.
Oh, Roby won't be happy that he had to actually work for that overtake on Block, as he only just pitted and basically made way for Jaum behind him. And now Roby is going to be really close to Amoy, but Amoy is going to be on cold tyres, and Roby is just in a very awkward position behind the Haas of Papi. He needs to get past now, as Papi won't have DRS, if I'm correct. Yes, I am correct, and it looks like the Haas is not really putting up too much of a fight here. And you can see just how much Amboy lost because of the cold tyres. That's insane.
As LRB makes a move on Diogo Silva, you have to say the two biggest losers out of this pit stop phase have been LRB and Luke and Nick. They were running second and third prior to the pit stops, but they've just been horribly caught out. Their track position has really cost them, and it does suggest as to why most drivers start on the hards, because the hard to medium just seems to work a little bit better than the medium to hard.
Yeah, because obviously at the start you won't notice that pace difference in between the cars too much. Lukanik also gets past Diogo Silva right before the stadium section. Because at the start everyone is more or less slow. They have to get used to the track, to the car, to the conditions, to everything. But after the pit stops, everyone's more or less in their rhythm, just driving. Oh, as the Haas loses it and nearly puts his car into the wall, ending his race earlier than it should have ended, but he managed to keep it out the wall. Giraffu just came out the pits as well. He's going to be behind Charlie Moon, and he's going to have to warm up his tyres first as well. But it's going to be really tough for the hard runners now. Like you said, it looks like the hard to medium strategy worked a lot better for most of those guys, and Amboy is already able to pull a little bit of a gap to Jalm, that at least he can't be attacked that easily now. And it looks like the mediums are just a lot easier to get up to temperature. And it looks like Marcel is just controlling this race. Faultless so far from him.
Yeah, he's got a car in between himself and Roby, which is kind of ideal for him, although Simon probably going to be pitting very soon. But he's got it at the moment, got it under control, you have to say. Roby, even if he gets close, does have a penalty. And then you got a bit of a gap back to Amboy as well. So it's not working out too well for those further down, but Marcel right now looking in control, and Roby right behind Simon, and he'll be hoping that Alfa Romeo peels into the pit lane, which it doesn't, but he will get DRS for his help. But look at Marcel, fastest lap of the race, and right now I know a lot can happen in 15 laps, but you have to say he looks odds-on favourite to win this race.
Yeah, it looks like he's controlling the pace, but I'm curious to see what Roby can do now. Obviously he's got his time penalties, but still maybe he can challenge him on the track. And it looks like LRB is really close to Jalm now, and he wants to get back past that Williams. Obviously, he lost the place right after his pit stop when his tyres were still cold and just wouldn't want to heat up at all. Kieran also only down in 10th. His recovery mission hasn't worked that well so far. But remember, he's on the mediums as well, so he might still gain 1 or 2 positions here and there. Also, I wouldn't count out Giraffu. He's on a fresh set of mediums as well. He's coming up to Lukanik in a couple of laps' time. Then he's right behind LRB as well, and Jalm, and all those guys are on the hard tyres, so they will have a disadvantage towards the end of the race.
Yeah, I was literally going to say spare a thought for Giraffu, because you have to say if it wasn't for him sort of going out the lobby, he probably would be where Marcel is, if not in front or somewhere near him. Obviously, we don't know how his race would have panned out if it had gone to plan, but you have to feel that he would have been right there with Marcel and potentially in line for a win or a podium, which he could still do, but he's going to have to do it the hard way if he's going to do it.
Amboy, in the meantime, easily goes past the Alfa Romeo of Simon, who's still out on his set of hard tyres. I think he's still hoping for that safety car and just staying on the track. And there goes Giraffu. Look how quickly he caught up to the Ferrari of Lukanik, who's now dropped down to 8th, even though he was fighting for P1 right before the pit stops, and now he's down into 8th place, and Giraffu is up another place, and he's coming up to LRB. And I'm not gonna lie, I think a podium is still not off the table for him, even though it's gonna be difficult to get past Amboy. Or I should rather say it could be difficult to catch up to him, because in between Jalm and Amboy there is a gap of around 85 seconds, and they're on the same compound, so that might be the biggest issue. But top 4 is definitely still achievable for the Mercedes.
Yeah, and look how quickly he's catching up to the next 2 cars. He's on fire here, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is the new fastest lap when he goes across the line, because he just looks in the zone and he wants to try and clear these 2 guys as quickly as he can. He's on a mission here to salvage as many points as he can, because even despite the issues with him with his disconnection from the lobby. As we've got a yellow flag in sector 3.
Oh,
What's
Simon has
sector 4?
crashed into the pit wall, and he's just triggered a safety car. Is that a full safety car? It is a full safety car. And that just turns this race on its head. Completely.
Well, you said Simon was staying out and hoping for a safety car. Well, he kind of inadvertently caused it with that moment he'd probably want to forget. I don't think that's a moment as a racing driver you particularly enjoy. It's kind of considered a bit of a rookie mistake, but he's got the medium tyres now, and we'll see what he can do. And Marcel will not be happy to see that safety car because he looked like he had this race under control, and now he's under all kinds of pressure again.
Yeah, it's obviously he definitely cannot pit. He has to take that set of mediums towards the end. But also the hard runners can't really pit either because you only get one set of mediums, and they've used it on their first stint already. And I don't think the softs will make it for 13 laps now when we cross the line. I mean, Simon will be embarrassed with that mistake, but in the end, I think it has helped him more. But I'll tell you what, the man who is hating that safety car with a passion right now is going to be Roby. He's got 6 seconds of time penalties, and he would have only lost 1 or 2 positions with those as it stood. But now he's going to drop down to maybe even outside the top 10. Lukanik, Charlie, and Kieran all in the pits.
I mean, I'm guessing for Kieran it's to serve that 5-second time penalty. Because I would have been a bit confused as to why he abandoned the mediums. But you can see they're all going onto the soft tyres. They're taking that gamble. Will they make the distance? I don't know. But it's going to be interesting to see what they can do. But Luke and Nick, it really didn't work out, that pit stop phase for him. And he's going to try and salvage something now. He's rejoined in P9. So track position-wise, it's not the worst. So he may be one to watch at the restart, him and Charlie Moon. Kieran, though, has dropped down to 14, so he's going to have a lot of work to do when we get back underway.
Yeah, not going to be easy for him. And just look at it, who is sitting in P11 and 12 for Kieran. Just want to mention that he's had a bit of a story with those two guys at some point in this race, but I don't want to jinx anything here. So we'll just focus. I think Marcel still is in a pretty comfortable position. He can afford to lose that first place to Roby, as he has got 6 seconds of time penalties. And obviously, if he would get overtaken by that Red Bull, he would have that DRS to defend from the guys behind, who are on the same set of tyres as he is. Giraffu, obviously, once again, now in the hunt for a podium, maybe even with Roby's penalty, and LRB and Jam being on the hard tyres. Could be a good chance for him.
Yeah, and what those hard tyre runners would have hoped without a safety car is that they maybe would have had the better tyres towards the end, but with this opportunity to sort of look after the tyres, under the safety car, it kind of offsets that a little bit. So those on medium tyres are even bigger advantage over those on the hards now. So those two could be sitting ducks at a restart. And a bit of good news for Kieran is that one Haas has just kindly moved out of his way by pitting.
Yeah, he's gone on to the softs as well. I don't know who he had the collision with or the incident with. If it was Papi or Diogo Silva, not quite sure, but at least one of those two guys is out of the way, and I think he'll be very happy with that one. I think it's going to be a quite chaotic final 10, 11 laps of this race when we get back to racing, because we will have those soft runners trying to make the best of those tires, but obviously you've got all sorts of tires on the track right now. Inside the top 10, we've got all 3 different tire compounds. We've got 2 guys on hards, 2 guys on softs, and the rest on mediums. And it's going to be interesting. Obviously, the soft runners need to make moves as soon as possible, but obviously they kind of need to look after the tires as well to make it to the end.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they approach this. And the safety car is in this lap, so we're going to be back underway very shortly. Everyone has caught up, and we've got a lot of different strategies out there right now. All sorts of different sets of tyres, different age of the tyres as well. and the different penalty situations. So there's going to be a lot of drivers out there, I think, getting their elbows out and trying to either defend or attack their positions. So let's see how Marcel does this restart, and let's see how this unfolds.
Wasn't that great? He's only just out of Roby, who's tried to warm up his tyres. Is Roby actually trying to get past? He basically has to if he wants to get that gap of 6 seconds. He isn't looking keen to make an overtake. No, he stays behind for now. We've got Lukanik losing a position, or fighting for it actually. Fleddy as well in that fight with Lukanik and Block. Lukanik has gone past Block, and he's trying to get past Fleddy as well, who's just gone off the track because he's lost the rear end. And there goes Roby for the lead into turn 4. He's got the inside line and he's got the position. Then we've got Lukanik, who's got the inside line and he's got the position as well. So the inside line really helped. We've seen Kieran there trying to make a move on Diogo Silva. Hopefully that doesn't end in tears once again in between the Hasses and the Alpines. And the Haas is under pressure from Simon now as well, who's got the outside line for the S section. He goes off the track. That should be an illegal move for him. He should give that place back though. That didn't look quite fair to me. Kieran got another penalty. That won't help him at all. An absolute nightmare for him so far. But up front, we've got Roby, who's pulled out nearly a 1 second gap already to Marcel. And Marcel isn't that safe from Amboy either.
And Simon, because he didn't give that place back, has got a penalty for obviously you cutting the corner and gaining an advantage. And Roby is absolutely flying up front, nearly a 1 second advantage already. So Marcel might have to be a bit wary behind him because Amboy isn't too far away at all.
Yeah, and there is also Giraffu, who's pretty close. We've got Fleddy trying to defend from Charlie. He can't do so. Into turn 1, he has to give up that place to the man on softs, to one of the men who is on the soft compound. Giraffu's trying to get past LRB desperately down the inside. A very late move. Dive bomb, and it worked beautifully. Break very, very late. Fair play to LRB, who left him room on the inside. But that was a great move. Absolutely used the advantage of the tyres there. And he's got past and up into P5 he goes.
Yeah, very nicely done indeed from Giraffu. Caught LRB off guard and using the superior grip of those medium tyres. We've got yellow flag in sector 2.
Yeah, that's Simon, I think.
Oh, Simon having more difficulties, so he may have caused the safety car with that rather strange collision with the pit wall, but it hasn't helped him as Kieran gets past Fleddy, and I don't think that will have been all too difficult for him with them being teammates.
No, especially... Oh, no. Is DRS enabled already? I think...
Not yet.
Now
it
is
now.
And look at Lukanik. He's really close to the back end of LRB at the moment, and he won't have the DRS just yet because the detection point is in the final sector. But there he goes, Lukanik, up into P6 with that one. And he's on a run at the moment. There we can see Kieran is trying desperately to go past that McLaren, who's made a mistake, and he's used that to absolute perfection around the outside through turn 2, and he makes the move stick around turn 3. That was great by the championship leader, and he saw the mistake from Charlie, and he absolutely took advantage of it. That was great stuff from the Alpine driver.
Yeah, really good, and just picking him off as and when he can. If you get a small error from the car in front, you've got to try and take advantage as soon as you can. These drivers won't make many mistakes. Now he's on the back of LRB, who I don't think he's enjoying those hard tyres at all. He just doesn't have the pace and the grip to fend off these faster cars behind him. And Giraffu, you imagine, is going to be making a move on Jaun pretty soon. And he probably needs to as well, because there's a bit of a gap developing between 3rd and 4th place.
Yeah, that must be down to the tyres. Obviously, Jaun, the first placed driver in terms of the guys on hards. And look at Lukanik. He's right behind them. So at the moment, it looks like he has got the pace to catch up to that pack of top 3 guys there. And Amboy is pretty close to Marcel as well, who's just dropped out of the DRS window. And look at Lukanik down the inside of 2 people, maybe 3 wide, going down into turn 1. They're still side by side, but Lukanik has to back out for now. But maybe with a good exit now on his fresher and better softs. No, it wasn't the greatest exit for him, but that was an intense move right there.
Amboy's going for it on Marcel. Amboy dives down the inside into turn 4, and they're now fighting. But it looks like Amboy's got the inside line, and Marcel may have to give this one up. That was a really late call from Amboy, and it caught Marcel out, and he now takes what is in effect the lead of this race.
Oh yeah, only 8 laps before the end of this race. We've got a change of the lead, the theoretical lead, if you count that Roby penalty in, that he has got 6 seconds, I think it was. And Charlie now picked up another penalty. That won't help him at all. Lukanik still pretty close to the rear end of Girafu, but hopefully he hasn't got any damage. It doesn't look like he has. Oh, look at Kieran. He's trying desperately to get past that Williams. He will have the DRS. He was behind at the detection point, so he will definitely go past him now, maybe even accelerating out of the final corner. Yes, that looks like a pretty easy move. Let's see if we've got any position changes up front. Maybe Marcel can fight back. Nah, he's too far away. Jaume is trying desperately to stay with him. He's using his overtake button as much as he can, but Kieran is ahead, and yes, he stays ahead. Coming down into turn one, and a crash. That is Charlie spun round.
Yeah, I didn't see. I was on board of him. I obviously saw the contact happen, but I don't know. I don't know if it was the AlphaTauri of Keke that went into the back of him. Someone a bit too eager on the brakes, and Charlie's hopes of points, you have to say, look to be over after that one, unfortunately for him. But yeah, it was all going off there, and you almost felt like a collision of some sort was inevitable. But going back to Roby, he may have about 6 seconds worth of penalties, but he's building up a decent enough margin here that he'll still get some pretty decent points if things stay as they are now.
Yeah, and look at Marcel. He's gaining some time back on Amboy, so he knows that is for the race win, and he wants to get that race win here tonight because he led almost the entirety of this race. Let's see how much ERS he's got. Yeah, he's got a lot more than Amboy, so in theory he's in a better situation than the Ferrari ahead of him. He's got the DRS, he's got the slipstream, and he's got a lot more battery, and he's not using it yet. And looking at the gap in between Lukanik and Girafu, it looks like the advantage of the soft tyre has degraded a little bit as LRB gets back past Jaume, and he lost that place right after the first round of pit stops, and he's regained it now 5 laps before the end.
Yeah, and I mean for Amboy, this is very much new territory.
And Roby's out! Roby has crashed. I think it was right before the hairpin. I don't know what happened. And there's another safety car. We get another safety car and probably a 2 or 3 lap sprint towards the end of this race.
And I think out of everybody, the driver is going to be least happy about that is Kieran, because with about 6 seconds worth of penalties that he's got, and everyone being back bunched up together again, that's going to absolutely impact on his race hugely. He was looking good for maybe a sort of top 6-7 finish. He's now potentially looking at struggling to score a few points. And I tell you what, the driver I'm excited to see on this restart is Girafu, because he's looked really quick, and now he's right behind Amboy and Marcel. He's got every chance to potentially go on and win this race.
Yeah, but I think Marcel will be gutted with that one as well. I think he will be gutted with that safety car because he had the advantage. Obviously, he was still in theory in second place at that point, and he's had a lot more ERS, but obviously everyone's going to have a fully charged battery when we go back to racing when the safety car comes in, and that entire advantage is gone for him. He still has the DRS and the slipstream, but only after 3 laps of racing. So for the first 3 laps, he needs to try and stay with the Ferrari ahead, and probably can't save his battery as much as he'd like to. And I don't even know if we'll get any more DRS, because if the safety car stays out 1 lap longer than this one, he won't get the help of DRS at all in this race.
No, that's a very good point, actually. And, I mean, the good thing is with how long this straight is, if you can be close enough to the car in front, you may not need the DRS to overtake. But nevertheless, having that aid available definitely helps. Well, the safety car may be in at the end of this lap, just because of how close everyone is. I think
the drivers at the back are not close enough just yet. I think it will be at the end of next lap.
Yeah, so unfortunately, drivers just not quite got time. So yeah, we'll only have DRS for the final lap of the race. So It's going to be a chaotic end to proceedings here. And like I said, Amwoy's not been in this position this season. He's only got two 10th places to his name, so this is a new type of pressure for him. And it'll be interesting to see if he can handle it. And I don't know what tyres you'd want to be on at this restart. I think maybe the mediums, but giving the soft tyres this break may give them a bit more grip as well. So, the only tyre I wouldn't want to be on right now is a hard tyre.
Yeah, and that description fits LRB and Jaum, who are still out on their hard tires. Those two guys are the only ones out on the track, still on that compound, so they won't have an easy time towards the end of this race. But good thing for them, the first two cars that are, oh no, out of the first three cars behind them, two have got penalties. So, they might not lose all too much, but I'm pretty sure they will gain a lot either. And remember, they can't go alongside each other anymore. And I think I've got the audio glitch, which is awful. That's alright. And Kieran is out! Kieran is out! Kieran has crashed! Wow.
I mean, that's absolutely bizarre. He's crashed under the safety car. I mean, we haven't. That just brings back memories of Romain Grosjean, of course, at Baku a few years ago. But yeah, that's not something you see very often. And our championship leader is out of the race, and wow, Giroffu will be seeing that, and his eyes will be lighting up here because he could be championship leader come the end of this race if he can have a good final few laps.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see now. Amwoy is controlling the pace. And he's gone now, and it looks like it was a pretty solid restart. Giroffu goes alongside, not quite, he backs out. That was a smart move from him, so he doesn't get any more penalties. Marcel has had a poor restart. There's no chance he can challenge for the lead on this lap, but maybe, just maybe, Giroffu can have a little look on that second place. He's looking on the inside. He had a little look, he sticked his nose in there, but pulled out, which is smart to do from him, but he's not had the best of exits, and he might come under pressure from Lukanik behind, who's still out on his soft tyres. That will definitely have helped the durability of that compound, that safety car, and it's now only 3 laps left, and they won't have DRS on those 2 long straights.
Yeah, that was some nice stuff at the restart from Amwoy. He really judged that to perfection, caught Marcel napping, and Giroffu had an opportunity but couldn't quite take advantage of it. But Amwoy here has nearly got the second gap he needs, and of course we will have DRS on the final lap of the race, so if he can...
I don't think they will have it on the 2 big straights though, because remember the detection point is in the previous lap. It's right here at the end of that stadium section, so I think on the first lap when the DRS gets enabled, they won't be able to use it on the 2 long straights because there's only 1 detection point for it.
Well, that's a huge blow indeed. Simon has spun coming out of the penultimate corner, and I mean he had 14 seconds worth of penalties anyway, so it was unlikely to score points.
Oh, and Marcel just completely outbraked himself. Coming down into turn 1, that looked very odd. He's rejoining the track. That's dangerous for the Mercedes of Giroffu behind him, who's now going to get past. And the Ferrari of Lukanik has just spun around on his 1 soft tyres right behind him. That probably caught him off guard. And it looks like Marcel is lagging a little bit here and there. That caught Giroffu out a little bit, who outbraked himself. And it's all coming down on the penultimate lap of this race.
Well, that's just given Amwoy all the ammunition he needs to sail off and get the win. Really shame for Marcel to make that mistake towards the end, and he rejoined the track. He automatically under pressure, and maybe in his enthusiasm to try and take advantage, Nick just got on the power.
Yeah, you are cutting off a little bit here and there once again, which is a shame.
Yeah, my apologies. Might need a new headset, to be fair. But it's all bunching up behind Amway now, and it's going to be an interesting final lap. See how a fight for second and downwards goes.
Yeah, now we start the final lap. Amway in the lead ahead of Giraffu, a comfortable gap of 9 tenths. Then we've got Marcel in third. The mistake looked odd. It looked like he might have missed one of the braking marker boards and just braked 50 meters too late or something, or his brakes just failed. It looked very odd, but he has made a mistake, which seemed untypical considering the rest of the race so far, and there's no way he can gain 2 seconds and overtake two people on this last lap. I'm pretty sure if Amoy just keeps it together on that final lap, he's got that race win secured. We still got some fighting up behind them though. We still got KK on a set of soft tyres. He has got a penalty, but he's got a hard run of Jaum and LRB ahead of him.
Yeah, what a dramatic final few laps it's been to this Mexico Grand Prix, and Amway now will just be hoping for his sake, but there's no drama that's going to unfold for him into his final sector. He's still trying to warm up his tyres, which I find utterly incredible, but it looks like he's going to do enough, and he'll be happy it's a final lap, because I tell you what, Giraffu is coming at him very quickly.
Yeah, and there he comes around the final corner. He probably didn't expect it a couple of laps prior to this finish of the race, but he wins in Mexico ahead of Giraffu and Marcel, who had a lead, a comfortable lead for the majority of this race. But in the end, it's only P3 for the Aston Martin driver. LRB and Jaum managed to hold off the others behind them on much quicker and fresher tyres in P5 and P4. That was incredible stuff from them as well. Papi, out of nowhere, basically finished P6 on his mediums, on his softs in the house. Then we've got Fleddy, who will be, a bit shocked to say that he, in the end, then finished ahead of his teammate, who spun out under the safety car and crashed. KK, with his time penalties, has dropped down to 8th. Diogo Silva takes P9 in the Haas on the soft compound as well, but that was quite a hectic race, especially towards the end here.
Yeah, and it was so hard to call a winner for that race for so long, because it kept changing hands throughout. Roby will be absolutely gutted for that crash. It's not a place you expect to see a car in a wall, but it really turned the race upside down, and Amway is ultimately the winner. But I have to say, for me, I mean, if I was to give a driver of the day, for instance, I've got to give it to Giraffu, because to come back from being disconnected out of the lobby and to be standing on the second step of the podium, I think that's a fantastic recovery. And given one more lap, I think he could have had the pace to win.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a great recovery drive through no fault of his own, basically. I mean, it wasn't even a spin. It wasn't even a mistake he made. It was just him being kicked out of the lobby and then to rejoin and gain so many positions towards the end, and then only just finishing under a second behind our race winner is utterly impressive. But there you have it. Final points per position goes to Block, by the way, in the Aston Martin. But yeah, very disappointing result in the end for Marcel, who seemed to have the pace, who seemed to have controlled this race for almost the entirety of those 36 laps, and then just a couple of laps prior to the end, he made the mistake. It looked odd, not gonna lie, it looked odd. Maybe he missed the braking marker board, maybe his brakes failed, because it didn't look like a mistake he would make, especially considering the way he drove. But fair play to Amoy, from P9 up into P1, that is utterly impressive. And he just kept his head cool in all that chaos that was unfolding. He just made the right moves. Obviously got a bit lucky with the safety car in the end then as well, because that completely vanished the disadvantage he had in terms of battery charge towards Marcel.
Yeah, and he gets the full complement of 17 points, because he also got the fastest lap as well. So a brilliant day at the office for Amway, and he'll be delighted to get the maximum amount of points this evening. So yeah, well done to him, and fully deserved victory, because he had to withstand quite a bit of pressure in those latter stages.
Yeah, that was quite an exciting race. I'm glad I was finally able to commentate on the first race for me of this season. It was very exciting all the way through it. We always had some fighting here and there. We had some chaos. We had crashes. We had safety cars. And in the end, we've got a podium that we certainly didn't expect up until like 10 laps before the end, at least in that order. And yeah, it's got me excited for Japan next week. Hopefully, it's the same for you watching. Jake, I am very happy that you've joined me here tonight. Um, Anything else to add to tonight's race?
No, just to say that I'm super excited for next week. Japan is my favorite track in the world, so I'm always excited to commentate on a race at Suzuka. And based on what we see tonight, we're going to see a great race. And I tell you what, this championship is fluctuating this way and that, and I see it going all the way down to the finale, which is still quite a few weeks away.
Yeah, so make sure to tune in next week when we go to Suzuka, one of the fans' favorites, one of the drivers' favorites, and it seems like it's Jake's absolute favorite. So make sure to not miss that next week. Once again, Monday, 7 p.m. UK time. Make sure to tune in for that. Also, we've got other live streams for the PlayStation divisions going on live right now. Make sure to check that out as well. And yeah, with that being said, I hope to see you next week once again. And until then, goodbye and take care.